Good morning, New Life. My name is Claire Hahn, and I'm in Bangkok House Church, led by Josh and Tina Cho. And I went on the Kentucky mission trip this year. I signed up for this trip because I wrote down on my 2023 prayer request form that I wanted to be less selfish with my time and commit more time to serving. I felt like going on a mission trip was the best way to kickstart that. To prepare for this trip, our team met up weekly where we shared each other's testimonies and got a little more background on the work we'd be doing in Kentucky. In December of 2021, the small town of Mayfield, Kentucky was devastated by a tornado that was on the ground for more than 200 miles. Samaritan's Purse was one of many organizations that was there to aid with cleanup and rebuild. 2 years later, they're still there building homes on a 50-acre subdivision. In total, the project will provide 110 new homes, and they will be helping over 400 families. As we were meeting up and discussing what we could potentially be assigned to do, I started to ask myself, how am I going to experience God during this trip? When we got to Mayfield and received our assignments, our New Life team actually got divided in half. Me, Derek, Allie, and Minu got put on a team together. Some of our team's tasks included hauling 80-pound bags of concrete from a truck, mixing, wheelbarrowing, and shoveling 200-pound batches of cement, and many more physically demanding tasks to build a storm shelter in the home. Now, one of my complaints with Samaritan's Purse is how they decided to make these teams. We figured out that they divided our teams solely by age, so clearly they didn't look at our physicality of our group when assigning our tasks. No offense to Derek and Minu. The days were long and pushed us to our physical limit, and at times it felt like mindless work. However, it was the hour-and-a-half car ride to and from the work site that was the most life-giving part of the trip. Hearing our foreman and lead volunteer, Ron and Rick, share about how God has worked in their lives and just reciting verse after verse from the Bible as it applied to our conversation was so inspiring to me. At first, it was a little odd to hear because, for example, in trying to make small talk with Rick, I asked him about his job and what training looked like to become a Navy diver, to which he answered, "God is so good." In the moment, I thought it was a little weird, and he didn't answer my question. But in reflection, it reminded me of the verse Romans 15:13 that says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." Rick truly was overflowing with the Holy Spirit and had somewhat of a childlike faith that was so excited and on fire for God that he couldn't help but talk about him all the time. Being able to listen to their stories and do the same and share about House Church and our journeys too was what I saw as true fellowship. There were times throughout the trip where I questioned to myself, is this a real mission trip? We're not really sharing the gospel because we're surrounded by Christians. Are we making any change here in Mayfield besides physically building a house? It wasn't until the third day when a combination of things that both Rick and Jung said in sharing time that made me realize the purpose and excitement of what we were doing in Mayfield. We may not have seen the immediate fruit of our work, like seeing someone come to Christ, but they said they believe there will be a day when we're all sitting in a huge banquet hall in heaven, and we're looking around not immediately recognizing someone, but then realizing they were that family that we built the storm shelter for, that then turned into a home that had been prayed over and became a place of worship. There will be a day when we will all be together celebrating and laughing in the presence of God. This was the first time I could really wrap my head around what heaven could look like, and it made me really excited. Part of my inspiration to devote more time to prayer and serving stemmed from my grandma's passing last year. She was such a spiritual role model to me, and I wanted to take steps to have a heart for God like she did. On the second to last day of the trip, during a time of prayer, I was visited by my grandma. I could feel her place her hands on me and tell me that she was watching over me and was proud of how much I've grown this past year. As much as I miss her, I can't help but feel so much joy knowing that she's experiencing something like what I was imagining in heaven right now. Overall, the mission trip didn't seem like much more than straight up physical labor on the surface, but in reflection, it was so much more than that. In doing God's work, I experienced so much joy and truly got a glimpse into heaven. Following this trip, I realized that this joy and gift God has provided is not something I'm supposed to keep to myself. God is calling me to share that with others and expand his kingdom, and I hope to do that. Thank you.